So, we are planning to start Africa's most ambitious startup incubator. Our idea was simple, was because there's a change of plans based off certain revelations I got today. We're going to have this campaign to have students, at least university students, young people participate in our hackathons. You can you're basically invited to start an app and create a proposal, pitch deck, the kind of stuff you would expect to have ready when you are presenting the prospect for someone to invest into your startup, right? Your pitch deck, your app, your social media, etc. So we're going to have those hackathons and competitions going on. We will be finishing, or rather finalizing, details about that and opening applications not too long from now. And towards the end of the year, which is December, before December, we're going to open applications for people to join our accelerator program. Now, the process of the hackathons will be going out throughout the year, right? Like, once we start, we're not going to stop them. They're going to keep on happening forever. Okay. And yeah, that's just our way, at least with the way we want to host our hackathons. We want to help as many young people to become startup ready. Now, that will complement a lot of our, well, not a lot of a lot of our other initiatives, such as the leadership school, the podcasts, etc., where we provide information that helps young people to be ready to build startups, right? Now, the crown jewel of the startup program we're having here was demo day, right? Demo day meaning the opportunity to pitch your product to investors. Now, this opportunity to pitch was, because I'm only thinking about it now because I didn't have fundraising plans yet. We're just gonna figure it out. But basically, we're going to have a demo day digitally held. Since I'm in Johannesburg or whichever city I was going to choose to do it in, though of course South African cities are the best because the people in the continent who probably have a decent amount of money to give us a great start from day one will be in South Africa. By the way, when we're saying this, it's not an issue of really, this is just like demo days being held digitally, right? So we could have had the demo, I could have been having it from a Nairobi office or a Lagos office or Accra or Cairo or Tangier or Port Louis in Mauritius. It wouldn't have mattered where we're having it. The important part is have a place where the investors within that place sitting and viewing the startups that are showing up for demo day. And that's number one. Number two, have it being streamed, right? Because of course the founders who are part of the startup accelerator will be from around the continent. Of course, for those that are within the city and are able to show up, have that possible for people that are within the country to be there and pitch in person. And then what you're pitching for is not quite investment for you to actually like start your business on the spot, but money to fund your trip for the more important demo day, which is going to be the demo day in Silicon Valley. Now, your prospects of getting funding in Silicon Valley versus out of Silicon Valley, they're day and night. So yeah, would have wanted to have an actual demo day from Silicon Valley and in Silicon Valley. And I got the idea from listening to Sir Paul Graham's one of the videos that I listened to him about, where you're speaking to how if you are just from Silicon Valley, startup from Silicon Valley, the opportunity for you to get funding outside Silicon Valley is increased. Is like the opportunity to get funding outside Silicon Valley is multiplied. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity after we have this fundraisers and you've got this money that has been made available for people to go to the United States, right? Because this fundraiser, at least pick demo day one, so people to raise the money to buy tickets and get accommodation, that kind of stuff. We're going to plan a full-on trip at Silicon Valley and it's just going to be so fun, right? We then go to Silicon Valley and fundraise there. So, to our great pleasure of the greatest administration in the history of the world, at least they're not using that title yet or ever for bragging. Though, of course, if you go and read the government department's website, which for me I found really hilarious. It's so hilarious, I must actually go and read it. So due to our great displeasure, the United States government has made it such that you have to pay a bond, a fee, right, to be able to apply to travel to their country, right? So you can get accepted, you can go through the visa process, but you have to pay this much amount of money for the opportunity to go and travel there on a business visa. If you come from the following countries, in fact, I'm not going to read them. I just want us to count how many are from Africa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. More African countries will have a hard time citizens from African countries. More countries have got this situation where you have to pay a bond than less. Okay, there are 54 countries in Africa, 30 of which have to pay $5,000, $10,000 or $15,000 in bonds to travel to these countries. Now, yes, this bond will be refunded, but we must understand, we're trying to raise $2,000 to buy it's not quite 2,000, 1,300, 1,005 to buy an air ticket to go from a return trip ticket, by the way, not one way, to go from wherever you are within the continent of Africa as part of the Startup Accelerator program to San Francisco and back. We're going to expend 1,000 roughly on accommodation and another, let's just say 1,000 on the trip there, right? To have a great time in Silicon Valley. So we were going to do the math and find out how do we make sure that we don't need to do more than $2,000 in expenses when you actually get to Silicon Valley. But basically, this is the best place in the world to raise funds for a startup, right? The capital there is immense. But thanks to this great situation, right, where you have to then pay $5,000 to get the opportunity to actually travel, though it's going to be refunded, this means we now need to have 20 startups that are raising funds times at least 2 founders that will be going on that trip, or maybe the 2 main founders. But that's, anyways, 2 founders times $5,000 in bonds. That's a low range amount. That means we're going to have to raise $200,000 to pay in bonds for this trip. Is there a possibility for a waiver? I wouldn't know. Maybe I would have to do more research and do a bit of asking. I'd like to believe if you do quite a bit of asking and get someone to speak on your behalf, it's possible for us to get a waiver. Oh, no. There is no way to go about this because it says any citizen. Oh, yes, I had almost forgotten. I wanted to read this thing. Any citizen or national traveling on a passport issued by one of these countries who is found otherwise eligible for a B1/B2 visa must post a bond of $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000. The amount is determined at the time of the visa interview. The applicant must also submit blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, interesting stuff. So, also there's not quite there's not quite an opportunity for a waiver. Oh, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to read. Do FIFA World Cup 2026 travelers have to pay the visa bond? As part of President Trump's commitment to hosting the biggest, best, and safest sporting event in World Cup history, my comment, that is trolling. That is trolling. Qatar was the safest. And there were much better World Cups than the United States' World Cup. All right. And the simple reason, just so that you don't think I'm hating on the US, because the US is the best country in the world for opportunities ever. If you want to do something that changes the world, the US is the way to go. But if you want to travel for FIFA, then and you don't have thousands of dollars to pay for a ticket, to get a seat to sit there, where ordinarily you would have to have paid hundreds of dollars if you went to the Qatar World Cup, then basically you have just been gatekept from watching your country participate in the World Cup at a time where FIFA is priding itself of having increased accessibility by expanding the number of countries that can play the World Cup from 32 to 48. So yeah, go FIFA and go USA. Keep up the good work. You're definitely the best. So let's talk about the waivers, by the way, briefly. It says, the administration will waive the visa bond requirements for certain individuals traveling to the US for the FIFA World Cup 2026. The bond requirement will be waived for athletes and team members, including coaches, persons performing a necessary support role, and immediate relatives who are nationals of the countries that are competing in the FIFA World Cup and demonstrate that they meet all requirements for the visa. The visa bond will also be waived for nationals of competing countries who by April 15 purchased FIFA World Cup tickets and opted into the FIFA priority appointment scheduling system through the FIFA website and demonstrate that they are otherwise fully eligible for a US visitor visa. As with okay, let's end it there. Traveling as an African to the United States is very hard and will continue to be very hard for, let's just say, decades to come, hey? Because I don't see a change. I don't see the US getting a change in leadership. I think Republicans are going to win the election. And even if Democrats win, some of the things that Trump is doing were being done during Joe Biden's administration. And reading this really deflated me. It was very discouraging. In fact, now that I'm making this podcast, I'm much more discouraged. Hey, but there's a quick workaround around this. Change the destination. So we're not going to be doing it in Silicon Valley anymore. We are going to be doing it in Dubai. I've got my issues with Dubai. I've got my issues with the United Arab Emirates. In fact, the Middle East as a whole, especially at a time where they're trying to improve their reputation, at least for the countries that have got reputations to improve, because Dubai doesn't quite have a reputation to improve. They already have a great reputation. So I do have those issues, especially as one whose relative worked there for 2 years. And you can tell that it's not great. But I do appreciate and do not take away from the reality that Dubai is one of the best places to do business for Africans. Okay, I was about to say in Africa, but really the point there is to say, even if you want to do business in Africa, Dubai is a better place to do it than in Africa itself, if you want whatever business you're doing to be directed to the continent. Now, of course, there are countries in the continent that are great for doing business. Let me just give a couple of shout outs. Shout out to Rwanda. Big time shout out. Love the country. Shout out to Mauritius. Great policies there. Shout out to countries. Okay, let's just leave it at that. When it comes to doing things that are continent facing, this is a controversial one, but shout out to Seychelles. Controversial because Seychelles really is the tax dodging capital of the world among many other places. So when you're doing something in Seychelles, it's probably because you want to dodge taxes, and it's not quite because you want to have operations in Africa. Though, if you just look at it from a legislative perspective and you are to do business in Africa, I think, not even I think, Seychelles' business policies are fantastic. Of course, there are countries around the continent that are not bad or that are okay, right? For me, world class really is Rwanda and Mauritius. World class. Not as world class, but are good, Seychelles. And then, okay, not world class from the perspective that tax dodging is not cool, because some countries are getting blacklisted for their or grey listed because of this tax dodging thing. But aside for that, other great countries to do business in, at least the laws are okay, are Mauritius, sorry about that, Botswana, Zambia, South Africa is okay actually. Ghana, shout out to Ghana. Ethiopia, Kenya is okay. Uganda is so, not bad, not great, not bad. Senegal is so. Morocco is good. Morocco is very, very good. And then aside that, there aren't many countries that I would really recommend across the continent. If it's an issue of great business practices like that are world class or close to world class. Oh, almost forgot Namibia. Namibia is also a good place. If I haven't mentioned a country here, maybe they do have good policies or they're improving, but I did not give them a shout out. But aside for those countries, really, yeah, you really feel that you're doing business in Africa for sure. Not that like the services and the standard delivery is like horrible, and it at every pass or at every level at growing your business, you have to pay someone a bribe. Not at all. I don't think there's much of that in that continent in the continent, but really if you want a smooth experience, the countries that I mentioned give you the much more smooth experience. So going back to the Dubai thingy, Dubai is the place that we could relocate our thing, because the goal was go to a place where you can meet in person with people that can give you actual money. And actual money is not 1,000, 3,000, 5 or 10, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And perhaps at that moment you can have groups of people that got $10,000 each at hand on hand. You can get a lot of that in Dubai, in Doha, in Saudi Arabia too, definitely. So actually, instead of just working to doing this thing in Dubai only, I'm going to do a bit of calling and researching and working around to see the groups of people that could help us to do our demo day there. But I do believe we should be able to get a great amount of support in Dubai. Yeah, because the important reason why I do place immense hope and trust in the government of Dubai, though I do believe we should be able to get a lot of support from Qatar, right? Even Saudi, is that for Dubai in particular, they made it a point in Vision 2030 that they would like to have 20 unicorns that are based in their city. And basically what I'll do is see the relevant officials to talk to and say, we love this vision. Oh, because I'd love us to have unicorns, and say, would like to build startups in Africa that become unicorns. Talk to how there are a few unicorns in Africa, and if we can have 20, by the way, unicorn is a company valued at more than $1 billion. If we would like to have 20 companies that become worth more than $1 billion. Maybe we might not reach the 2030 target, but definitely by 2035. In fact, we could even assist in expanding that number to probably 100, right? At least like 100 unicorns in Dubai, 20 of which could be from Africa. And we are basically asking you to help us to have a successful demo day. If there are investors, people that are in money, that are in business, that you could recommend, really. Basically, I'll just be asking, let the government help us, because Dubai is the place where you can actually ask a government to help you to do something, and they'll be up to helping you. Qatar also is that. Saudi Arabia is also that, right? But I would have preferred to do this in Silicon Valley, not quite because I have problems with any of these governments, but because of the deep pool of capital in Silicon Valley and the deep pool of support. It's a lot more than any other place in the world, guys. Like California, not even California, Silicon Valley versus the rest of the world. the comparison is day and night, even within the United States. Like the opportunity as a person who's got a startup just in New York. New York, yeah, it's cool. It's the financial capital of the world, sure, but not the startup capital of the world. You don't get the same opportunities in New York that you get in Silicon Valley. So if you're able to take a bus, take a train, take a bicycle, or take a walk from anywhere in the US, that's not Alaska. Well, you just be crossing through Canada, so that's not problematic. So that's not Hawaii, because you cannot cycle to Hawaii. You would have to take a plane. Um, Take whatever mode of transport you can to Silicon Valley and go and raise capital. You would have saved yourself a lot, and you'd have gotten yourself a lot more. So unfortunately, we don't have that opportunity anymore, thanks to the greatest administration in the history of the world. So yeah, we've got work to do, but I am happy about two things. Number one, the cost to go to Dubai is much lower than the cost to go to Silicon Valley, and also the cost to stay there, and also the visa application process. Like, it's much easier. Number two, I believe having the government supporting you could allow us to get the kind of access we would have wanted from Silicon Valley that we cannot get because we're just that we couldn't have otherwise gotten, even if we did not have government support. By the way, it's not like without government support we're just gonna raise this money and go to Silicon Valley and not raise any amount of money. No, because of how great people are at Silicon Valley, we would have raised money successfully for the great startups. But having a government giving you a helping hand, especially the government of Dubai, that is monumental. And of course, when we speak to the people about this, they're going to be like, wow, not only do we want to support you to do this, but we're going to give you more than just the opportunity to have a demo day in Dubai. We're going to give you all these other things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of this journey. And look, by the way, just got this idea. Who said we should just go for a demo day in Dubai? We could do a demo day tour in the Middle East, start in Dubai, continue off in Doha, and in Saudi Arabia, or vice versa. But I think that way that I suggested is cool. So yeah, let's see how it goes. I'm looking forward to building Africa's greatest startup accelerator. Let's see how that goes. Sharp.